So if you know about this story, if you're like, bitch, like, I know something else that happened, like, okay, there's a ton of shit associated with this particular case. So, because of that, this video today, what we are going to talk about is the collar bombing, and only the collar bombing. The suspects, okay? We are focusing on the collar bombing today. I have notes for days. This is one of the most interesting cases ever to me, because we still, to this day, don't know. I think we have a pretty good idea. Everyone has theories. I have a theory I will share at the end. But for right now, let's just stick with what we know as facts, okay? So, if you're gonna take it, take it. Okay, so if you haven't figured it out by the title at this point, the case that we are going to be talking about is the collar bombing that killed a man named Brian Wells. Now, there are so many aspects of this case that are up for speculation. No one really knows exactly what happened. And there's even speculation that Brian Wells himself was involved in this robbery, and I will get to why, to the different things that kind of lead one to draw that conclusion, if you will. I'm sorry, I got choked on pretzels, like, I'm such a badass. Okay, so before we get into the events, let's cover the players, the people, the characters, if you will. Okay, so first of all, we have Brian Wells. Brian Wells is 46 years old. He is a small, slight man. He stands at 5'3", and he is balding on top. Why they felt the need to mention that, I have no idea. I even made a note, like, why does that matter? Okay, so he dropped out of high school to become a mechanic. That obviously did not work out because he was working at a pizza shop. He worked at Mamma Mia's for 10 plus years. He was probably the most reliable employee that they had. He lived at home with 3 cats, and the only time that he ever called into work late was because one of his cats died. That's the only time he ever came in late. So, more about Brian Wells. Yes, we know. I can find it, but I'll eventually find it because I'm gonna go through these notes. Okay, so that's about what we know about Brian Wells. He was a pizza delivery man for Mamma Mia's Pizza. He had worked there for 10 plus years. He never called off late. He was a reliable man. He was a smaller man. He drove a Geo Metro. That's important for later. And that's what we know about Brian. I'm sorry for the music in the background. My mom is getting ready, and Okay, so Marjorie, Eleanor, or Marge, Deal Armstrong. Like, what? How many last names do you have? How many husbands did you have? That also was a good question because it turns out her husband dropped like flies. I am aware that I do not snap right, or I do not snap correctly. Fuck you. Okay, so anyway, she was bipolar. She had mental issues since childhood, and her health deteriorated in her 20s. Bad. She was not medicated for her disorders. She was extremely smart. She earned a master's degree in 1984. She shopped her boyfriend, Robert Thomas, 6 times as he laid on the couch. She shot him 6 times as he slept on the couch. Okay, that made it dead. So anyway, she shot him 6 times while he slept on the couch. And she claimed battered woman's syndrome. She claimed that he abused her. Now, one thing that Marjorie Deal Armstrong was not is stupid. She completely convinced them that she was a battered woman. And it worked. It worked. Her husband and several other partners died in mysterious circumstances. So there is a very high chance that she was a serial killer because we're talking about 4 or 5 people here, not like 1 or 2. Okay, so the next person that we're going to talk about, that he's not really important until the trial. Anyway, his name is Kenneth Barnes. He is a retired TV repairman turned crack dealer, because you don't retire with a pension from, a TV repairman. And he was Marge's fishing buddy. Okay, so from now on, Marjorie Deal Armstrong will be referred to as Marge. Okay. So Kenneth Barnes was Marge's fishing buddy. Okay, are you with me so far? I'm not talking to you like you're stupid. Like, I apologize if I am. It's actually like I need to do that to help me keep my thoughts straight for them to make sense in my own head. Okay, so the next person that we need to talk about is a pivotal character. He's so important. So this man's name is William Ansel, Ansel, Ansel. Bill Rothstein, everyone calls him Bill. From now on, he will be referred to. Guys, like, I'm starving. It's probably so loud. His name is Bill. Okay. He dated Marge in the 60s and 70s, but Marge is Cashapp. And smart man, but he snitched and he got immunity. That is important, my lovelies. He snitched and he got immunity. He was a handyman, he was a part-time shop teacher, he was very intelligent. He was part of a group called the Fractured Intellectuals, which I thought was kind of cute. They were intelligent people who were not well-adjusted, and he was admitted to a hospital in July 2004, having been diagnosed previously with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and so, like, his prognosis was not good, okay? That's important. The other player that will come into play later, and I will remind you, don't you worry, his name is Jay Stockton, and Jay Stockton is a piece of shit. He is a convicted rapist of a disabled teenager. He lived as a fugitive with Bill, and he was granted immunity again. He was granted immunity, okay, like not again, but like, you know what I mean? He was granted immunity for testimony against Marge. So, I just, like, but the crime that he committed in this case had nothing to do with children. I'm just saying he's obviously a piece of shit. Why help him? Marge. But Marge is a very smart lady. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the facts about what happened and what we know, okay? So on August 28th of 2003, there's a call that is called into Mamma Mia's Pizza. That is on 5144 Peach Street. And get used to hearing Peach Street. 5144 Peach Street. A call is made to Mamma Mia's for a couple pizzas. The manager that took the call could not understand the person that was trying to tell him the address, so he handed the phone to Brian Wells. Now, this is something in the case that I wonder if Brian Wells was in fact involved. How in the fuck could they possibly have planned for him to hand the phone to Brian? Like, I don't know. And the address also turns out to be on Beach Street, so I don't understand why it was that difficult to understand. So, anyway, at 1:30 p.m. is when the call comes in. He's handed the phone and he's given the address, 8631 Peach Street. But he gets there, and the address was the WSEE TV tower, and you had to take a dirt road to get to it. Yet he found it. That is questionable to me. He found it, and I don't necessarily know. I will look it up on Google Earth. Don't you worry. But I'm curious, like, how hard he had to work to get like this TV tour. He found it. Okay, so anyway, this is where shit goes bad for Brian Wells, allegedly. This is where he is grabbed and fitted with the bomb collar. So 2 hours later, which I guess would make it like Wells is on the ground, handcuffed, surrounded by cops with his collar on his neck. And with this Metro, and he is in this position because he has robbed a bank. He has walked in and just said, like, give me your money, and robbed a bank. Okay, so that's one thing, but we'll get to it. So, Wells claims that he was grabbed by a group of black men and forced to wear the collar. Shame on you, Brian, because if he was not involved, why would he not tell the truth and tell them that it was Marjorie and Bill that had put the collar on him in the first place? Okay, so anyway, after like 30 minutes of like gently prodding, like, hey guys, get this fucking thing off me, he really started to like panic. He was like, guys, it's gonna go off. At 3:18 p.m. Okay, so that's what time it was. At 3:18 p.m. the bomb began to beep rapidly, like beep, 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 beep. We all know what that means. And then he was obviously dead. 2 minutes later, the bomb squad arrives. 2 minutes. Like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. That's just so funny to me. Okay, so now we're going to talk about collar bombs in and of themselves. Collar bombs are not common things. They're not used often. They're often used in Colombia in turf wars over, like, you know, drugs and shit like that. They're not used in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is where this all took place. It just didn't add up. It just didn't make sense. So then the mystery deepens. It deepens so much. Okay, so Wells is dead. His car is parked behind him, his Metro. And of course they search his car after he dies because he has no privacy. He's not a human being anymore, I guess. So they search his shit. And then they found several sheets of paper that would basically take him on a scavenger hunt through the city that would lead him to a key that would unlock the collar, and he would be free to go after he robbed the bank, mind you. So the notes were addressed only to a bomb hostage. Sweet people. So at this point, it seems like Wells is just an innocent victim. He was just a pizza guy. He was just doing a delivery. He went above and beyond to find this godforsaken place, and he was attacked, and this collar was put on him, and he died because of it. I'm sorry, my throat just growled. So, this is what I was looking for. Neighbors claimed that he was very helpful, that he loved cats, that he was shy. Okay, so anyway, the call came in. Hi, Mama. would say he left by 1:50 because earlier it said the call came in at like 1:30 something, so. Didn't write the time down, but I swear it was earlier. Anyway, okay, so the call comes in and he leaves. So he should make it to the TV tower around 2 p.m. And they found, excuse me, they found Brian Wells' footprints. They found his geo tracker, tire prints. Like, he was obviously there. And they decided that that's when the collar was put on. That's when like the actual like device was put on. So that happens at about 2. By 2:20, Wells walks into a PNC bank wearing the bomb. He was in a t-shirt with the word gas written across it, like not the brand, like the word actually written across it. I had to burp, so that is just like that kind of is part of my theory of why Brian Wells was never meant to survive this scavenger hunt, and I'll get more into that later. Okay, so that's when the collar was put on. So then he goes into the bank. He's wearing the bomb. He was in a t-shirt with the word guess written on it. I wrote so inconspicuous. And he was instructed to. This is what the note later said that they found in the Geo Metro after Wells was already deceased. Enter. God, I'm sorry, my throat's fucked up today. Enter the bank quietly with the weapon you are given. A fucking shotgun umbrella. He's given a fucking shotgun that's supposed to like look like an umbrella, but witnesses later said it was obviously a shotgun and he's supposed to like not cause panic. Okay, so a fucking umbrella shotgun, avoid panic, but use the weapon if anyone doesn't cooperate or attempts to leave. He was seen to walk in the bank with a shotgun disguised as a cane and a shoebox under his shirt. That's what people thought the bomb was. They didn't realize it was a literal fucking bomb. Okay, so Wells hands a letter in a white envelope and spoke in a low voice to the teller, and the note read, gather employees with access codes to vault, work fast to fill, like, God, Mom, work fast to fill back with $250,000. You have 15 minutes. Okay, this is another reason why I don't think he was ever going to survive this scavenger hunt. The average amount of money stolen in a bank robbery in 2003 was a little over $10,000. So $250,000 was, but like batshit crazy. Okay, so anyway, then he showed her the bomb under his shirt. He was said to be calm. He was said, not to like even really be upset or freaking out or like. He was as cool as a cucumber during this whole experience, which is crazy to me. Like, maybe he knew he wasn't going to survive. I don't know. But $702. So he didn't even get the fucking average. He got less than it got, like less than 10 grand. So he left with the money and left a sealed envelope with his driver's license with the teller. That is another reason why I believe Wells knew he was not going to survive this. Like, I just don't think, or I just, not maybe he didn't know, but I think they knew. I think Marjorie Dale Armstrong and Bill Rothstein knew that he was never going to survive this. Like, this was not a survivable mission. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so 30 minutes later, he left in his Geo Metro down the highway. The instructions read further: exit the bank with the money and go to the McDonald's. Yes, bitch, the McDonald's. Go to the McDonald's. Get out of the car and go to the drive-thru zone. And in the flower bed, there's a rock with a note taped to the bottom. A grown man is like going over to the flower bed at McDonald's, digging through shit. Like, someone's gonna call the cops. And that's another thing. He was supposed to do all of this with zero interference from the police, and I just don't think it was possible. I just don't think it was ever meant to be possible. So anyway, it has your next instructions. So, like, the scavenger hunt just began. At McDonald's, he collected a 2-page note directing him to go up Beach Street, again into a wooded area several miles away. Shortly after he was stopped by troopers, handcuffed, put on the ground, he pled his case, and then boom, and then the bomb squad got there. So that was the timeline of events. Okay, so the note had specified the note was booby-trapped and would detonate if tampered with. Act now, think later, or you will die. He was warned he would be watched by sentries. And any deviation on his part would lead to his death. They would, like, activate. They would call, like, a cell phone. Think, like, what you know what I mean? Like a cell phone detonator in the bomb. If he did as he was instructed, which was basically drive around and find a bunch of fucking random shit, he would live to disarm the bomb. But if he followed all the instructions, the collars still would have gone off. The cops later tried to follow the instructions, but eventually they came up to a empty place where there was no more instructions, and either the person called it off, like they knew the cops were there because it was all over TV, and they put it, or it was never there in the first place. I don't think he was ever really meant to survive. I think he was only meant to survive long enough to hand off the money and then just get him away from Marjorie and Bill and give them a chance to do whatever they wanted to do. Also, assuming he could do this with zero cop interference. Cops attempted to storing it. He claimed he was storing it as a favor to a friend. The friend was Marjorie Deal Armstrong. Marjorie was like, she just had a way with men, and like if you Google her picture, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? And I don't get it either. But men just like did what she wanted, or she just killed them. And yeah, the body was 45-year-old James Roden, who was killed by his then, well, his ex at this point, ex-girlfriend, Marjorie Deal Armstrong. Lord. She shot him in the head while he slept on the couch on August 13th. Bill agreed to store the body. Now, Bill was okay with that. He was okay with storing the body. And he was okay with getting rid of the gun that she shot him in the head with. But when it came time to actually get rid of the body, Bill was telling Marjorie, like, I gotta do something with this frozen body in my fucking freezer. Like, and she said, why don't you just put him through the ice chipper? That statement, like, turned Bill Rothstein's consciousness on. conscience on. Like, why are words so difficult for me to do? I know why. Conscience. And I just, like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. He has this weird moral compass. Like, it's cool. It's cool. I will store it for you. I will get rid of evidence for you. But I will not put it in the goddamn ice chipper. I will not. Like, I just can't see how that conversation went. That was just it for him. So he called the cops. She was arrested hours later, and Bill once again got immunity because he snitched. I told y'all, don't ever forget that. When someone snitches, they will snitch again. Never fails. Every time it will happen. He claimed his conscience was just like bothering him, and he was gonna kill himself, and he even wrote a note. The note literally started, "This has nothing to do with the Wells case." What? What? They literally had no idea that Marjorie and Bill had anything to do with the Wells case until Bill's dumbass wrote a suicide note for a suicide he didn't even commit, and basically admitted to a murder that he did with Marjorie. Like, I just can't believe that this happened. He's such a smart person. This was such a dumb thing to do. Saying this has nothing to do with the Wells case. That's like... I can't even think of like an example that is that stupid. Like, that's like killing someone and going into the police station and being like, I am not the person that killed so-and-so. Like, okay, like, who the fuck are you? Like, it's just such a stupid thing to do. He was not a suspect until he left a dumbass suicide note. And the only link between Bill and Wells was that Bill lived in the vicinity of the last pizza delivery that Brian had. In fact, it was like a 5-minute walk from the house where Bill Rothstein lived to